Hey guys, it's Danny. I told myself that once I finally figured out how to get my mic quality to be okay on my whole recording setup for streaming and everything else on my PC, that I would try to make one of these sort of like freestyle videos where I talk about a certain topic that I have off the top of my head. As you know, I have a podcast with the lovely Kashia Babis, but sometimes there are some topics where I feel like it would be too egotistical almost to talk about it on the podcast, just because I don't feel like it would really fit the dynamic of having like a co-host and sort of taking the spotlight from the whole setting of the podcast. I feel like this is more of like a solo thing to discuss. So there's this question that I constantly ask myself in many periods of my life, no matter what my progress is like, however I'm really doing, whether I feel like I'm doing great or I'm doing really bad or just somewhere in between. And the question is, am I going to be okay? I think this is a question that a lot of people ask themselves, although admittedly I don't know if it's at the frequency that I ask myself that question. As some of you may know, I have certain things that I, well, not things, I have certain diagnoses that cause me perhaps to not be neurotypical in the way that I think about certain things, such as OCD, which makes me have really obsessive thinking, just really to like an unhealthy level, I would say. Sometimes it can be helpful, honestly. Sometimes I find myself being actually helped by my obsessive thinking because it helps me so I can get tasks done. But I really have to frame them in a way that's manageable, where it's like a step-by-step thing and it's not just me looking at like a big project that I need to finish or a big task that I need to finish. It has to be in like segments. So if I don't segment my stuff, the obsessive thinking just becomes useless and sort of takes over my brain and almost incapacitates me in a sense. And the other thing would be BPD, where I just have like constant, tremendous mood swings throughout the day. Sometimes it happens in very short bursts. One second I'll be doing great, other second I'll be feeling like garbage, so on and so forth. Sometimes I'll be feeling great for the whole day, and other times I'll just feel like garbage for the whole day, and maybe at the end of the day I'll start feeling okay. But that's besides the point, really. I think I just obsessively ask myself if I'm going to be okay, because when I reached a certain point of my growing up, of turning into an adult, I'm almost 25 now, so I would say I am an adult. Maybe not mentally a lot of the times, but definitely physically and chronologically I am an adult. And it's a question that constantly creeps up in my mind. Am I going to be okay? And, you know, I don't really know. I really don't. You can hear it from a million people. A million people can tell you that you are going to be okay or that you're not going to be okay. And you still don't know, because it's not always based in reason, that voice. Because if it was based in reason, I could sit down, make a chart of my pros and cons, of everything good that's going on, all my positive prospects, all the potential that I have, and all the negative things that I have, and all the things that are setting me back, all the things that I don't have, all the things that are stopping me from progressing. And if there is, if even if I reach a result of there are more cons than or more pros than cons, I still won't feel like I have an answer. And it's this sort of it's this sort of really almost like evil voice in my head that constantly reminds me that nothing is permanent, everything is temporary, as much as my suffering is temporary, my joy is as well. And I never really know what tomorrow is going to be like. I don't really have a sense of stability yet in my life. I think that's the main thing that I'm waiting for to get. I don't have really any stability in my life. I'm working towards it in all the different avenues of my life, but at the same time, I'm not developed enough in any aspect to where I feel like I've reached anything that I could call stability in anything. And I think that's the, besides the mental issues, that's the main thing that fuels me constantly asking myself that question. And I debate with myself whether it's a good thing to constantly be asking myself, because I guess it depends what I do with it. Because if I'm having a bad day and I constantly ask myself, am I going to be okay? Is everything going to be okay? Am I going to be fine? Am I going to deal with shit? Am I going to survive? Am I going to be hurt? Am I going to, like, if I'm not doing well, that question is just going to fuel my negative thoughts and my stress, and it will impede on my progress with things. It will really push me back. And on the other hand, when I'm doing well, when I'm having a good day, when I feel like I'm being productive and I'm getting shit done, that question really does provide me with the energy to keep going, because I don't know the answer to that question yet. And I want to, like I said, get to a point where I can confidently answer myself that question. And that's the point. The answer can't come from anyone else but me. And the only way I can get an answer from myself is if I achieve something. I don't feel like I've achieved anything. I'm sure maybe a lot of people my age or around my age can agree with that sentiment, where I don't feel like I don't feel like I've done anything that I can put my name on and call mine and call my work and see it as an achievement. And I don't know if that's because I'm being too hard on myself, or if it's because I genuinely have not achieved anything yet. I think maybe it's something in between, really. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. I wonder how many of the people that are watching this, if anybody's watching this, does have an answer to that question. Because I don't know if I'm as alone as I think I am in me constantly asking myself that question. I'm 25. I'm working from what I feel like I'm working my ass off every day. I'm trying to get shit done. And I still don't feel like I've achieved anything. And I think that's why I keep asking myself that question. And look, I know, I'm sure if anyone's watching, you might get like pissed off at me and tell me, oh, Danny, that's what therapy is for. Go to therapy. Go talk to somebody about it. I can't do that. I don't have the access to that sort of thing. So I'm just sort of stuck trying to deal with my own thoughts in whatever creative way I can. And sometimes I do it in a healthy way, and sometimes I do it in an unhealthy way. Sometimes, more times than not, I deal with things in an unhealthy way. Am I gonna be okay? That question can be applied to so many different aspects of my life. My health, my appearance, my finances, my living situation, my occupation, my education, my relationships with people. All of it is fueled or sort of backstaged. I don't know how to say it, but there's always that like thing in the back of my head, regardless of the situation or regardless of what I'm doing. Am I gonna be okay? 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 I don't know how healthy or detrimental that is for my progress or for my health. I am scared most of the time. I'm terrified. But at the same time, I felt it for so long that I don't really react to it as much as I did before. And I guess that's a good thing, because it stops me from making bad decisions. But at the same time, I get rare moments where I feel like a sense of like peace and like calmness just for a second sometimes. And suddenly I find myself like wondering if that feeling really is healthy at all. of me like just constantly stressing myself out with what sometimes feels like nonsense. Sometimes people tell me it's nonsense too, but I don't know if I believe them or if they're just trying to be nice. I obsess over so much. I'm obsessed with every minuscule aspect of my life. I obsess over the randomest things, the smallest, most insignificant things, and I obsess over the most grand and just like I obsess over the most grand, unfathomable concepts that I don't really have much of an influence on. I guess I don't know, I don't understand the human psyche well enough, or at least and like other people's thought processes and just psychology in general, where to the point where like I don't know what about the way I think is pathological and what about the way I think is normal and productive. And I guess the whole point of me even asking myself that question about whether constantly asking myself if I'm going to be okay or not is a good thing, is because I don't really know if it's healthy behavior or not. Maybe the answer is so obvious that I seem like an idiot even asking the question. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like if the answer was so obvious, I would have had it by now. Or maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know. Fuck. Like, what the flip, man? I don't even know if I'm gonna fucking post this. I just wanted to yap for a second. I have a normal mic now, so I can, and I'm like still experimenting with shit on YouTube, doing like a bunch of like random shit, posting VODs from my streams and video essays here and there, and just random yap sessions. Yeah, I know a lot of people on YouTube say that, and maybe with not so much what's the term, earnestness. But really, tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me what your opinion is on this whole thing, because I hope you did not expect to open this video and find an answer, because I don't have an answer and I don't know where to even begin to find one. So maybe you guys can tell me if you've come to any conclusions that I have not come to. Fuck knows. Who knows? Also, man, look, sometimes I just buy like big jar of pickles and I leave it at my desk and I just eat pickles when when I need a snack, little snack. Man, pickles are so fucking good. And in Poland you have like a distinction between konserwowe, ogórki konserwowe, and ogórki kiszone. Konserwowe would be like the classic pickles that we know and love, and kiszone would be fermented pickles. Each has its own pros and cons. On a snacking sense, day to day, I prefer konserwowe, but if I'm mixing it with food and stuff, kiszone is better, because the fermented taste doesn't really work as a snack, at least for me. It's too extreme. It needs to be contrasted by some savory, less acidic tastes, if that makes sense. So yeah. Am I going to be okay? Bye.